While Sex and the City is best remembered for its four leading women, the men who wove in and out of their lives became just as unforgettable. Some were soulmates, some were heartbreaks, and others were there for friendship and laughter. But each left a mark on the story and on viewers. These men weren't just love interests or side characters. They were fully fleshed out people who, over 6 seasons and 2 films, grew, stumbled, and evolved right alongside Carrie, Charlotte, Miranda, and Samantha. Here's a closer, more personal look at the actors who brought these roles to life, where they came from before the show, the roles they played in the Sex and the City universe, and where life has taken them since. Hi, and welcome to Timeless New York City. I'm Lena, and today I'm shining a spotlight on the men of Sex and the City, not just who they played on screen, but who they were before stepping into these iconic roles and where life took them after. These weren't just love interests. They were actors with fascinating careers, bringing depth and charm that made every romance, fling, and heartbreak feel real. From Broadway stars and rising TV actors to established Hollywood names, each man came into the show with his own story and left with a lasting place in pop culture. Today, we're looking at their journeys, how they became part of Sex and the City magic, and what paths they've walked since. Mr. Big, played by Chris Noth. Before Sex and the City, Chris had already built a career playing the kind of guy you could never quite figure out. His biggest claim to fame was as Detective Mike Logan on Law & Order, where he played tough but charming. When he stepped into the shoes of Mr. Big, he became the physical embodiment of Carrie's unreachable dream. Handsome, powerful, wealthy, and completely frustrating. After Sex and the City, he played powerful men again, most notably Peter Florrick on The Good Wife, and kept that magnetic, complicated energy. However, in 2021, allegations of misconduct surfaced and quickly derailed his public image. Since then, Noth has been largely quiet and somewhat exiled from major projects. His story is now a complex legacy of talent, controversy, and the blurred lines between public persona and private behavior. Steve Brady, played by David Eigenberg. David wasn't a big star before Sex and the City. He was one of those working actors always grinding, always showing up in small roles on shows like Homicide: Life on the Street and ER. He's openly spoken about how landing Steve, the sweet, down-to-earth bartender with a New York heart, changed his life. Steve felt like someone we all know, insecure, lovable, a little clumsy, but full of heart. Off-screen, Eigenberg is a family man who has long battled hearing loss, something he's quietly managed, even while working on loud, demanding sets like Chicago Fire, where he's now spent over a decade playing Christopher Harriman. He brings the same humility to interviews. Never flashy, never pretentious, just grateful to work, with the attitude of someone who knows how lucky he's been. His return in the reboot, and Just Like That, showed us an older, wearier Steve, but one who still feels like the emotional anchor for Miranda, even when they're lost. Harry Goldenblatt, played by Evan Handler. Evan's story is quietly incredible. Before Sex and the City, he was a serious theater guy, doing Broadway and earning critical respect. He also survived a brutal battle with leukemia in his 20s, writing and speaking publicly about it, an experience that grounded him deeply. On Sex and the City, Harry Goldenblatt wasn't meant to be the guy Charlotte married. He was bald, sweaty, and awkward, but he turned into one of the show's most beloved characters because he was real and kind and loved Charlotte without pretense. In interviews, Handler has said playing Harry was freeing because it allowed him to be unattractive in a world obsessed with attractiveness. After Sex and the City, he spent years playing Charlie Runkle on Californication, another flawed but lovable man. Now in And Just Like That, he still brings heart and softness to Harry, a guy who looks like your accountant, but loves his wife and daughters with a sincerity you don't often see on TV. Aidan Shaw, played by John Corbett. Before Sex and the City, John was the easygoing, philosophical radio DJ on Northern Exposure, and people loved him for his laid-back, soulful vibe. He's the kind of guy who seems like he really would fix your kitchen cabinets for you and then sit down for coffee. As Aidan, he was the boyfriend everyone said Carrie should have picked. Decent, honest, and open, maybe too open. Off-screen, Corbett is very much the guy he plays. He lives on a ranch, loves music, he's released country albums, and speaks with a sort of humble ease that makes you believe he really is a furniture maker at heart. He still seems genuinely surprised by his fame. When he returned in the reboot and Just Like That, he brought more age, more life experience, and a little sadness to Aiden. A man still trying to do the right thing, even when life won't line up the way he wants. Trey McDougal, played by Kyle MacLachlan. Kyle's career has always been a bit surreal. Before Sex and the City, he was David Lynch's muse, the dreamy, strange, and sometimes awkward hero of Twin Peaks and Blue Velvet. He often played men who seemed polished, but were full of odd quirks. Trey McDougal fit perfectly into that mold. Impossibly handsome, outwardly perfect, but inwardly clumsy, repressed, and let's be honest, kind of weird. His "Alrighty Then" became iconic, and his chemistry with Frances Sternhagen, who played his domineering mother, Bunny, was both hilarious and tragic. Off-screen, MacLachlan is warm, funny, and completely aware of how odd some of his roles are. He's embraced self-parody in Portlandia, returned to the surreal in Twin Peaks, The Return, and recently voiced the King in Inside Out 2. He's the kind of actor who never stops evolving, but always keeps his signature odd charm. Stanford Blatch, played by Willie Garson. Willie was a true character actor. You'd seen him everywhere before Sex and the City, often in small parts like in NYPD Blue, The X-Files, Friends. He was always the funny, sharp guy on the side. As Stanford Blatch, he became something bigger. Carrie's best gay friend in an era when that role was often played as a stereotype, but he brought warmth and humanity to it. He wasn't perfect, he was insecure, sometimes bitchy, but that's what made him real. Off-screen, Garson was a single father who adopted his son, Nathan, and spoke openly about how fatherhood was his greatest joy. He loved acting, but didn't chase fame. He just loved working. His sudden death in 2021 from pancreatic cancer was a gut punch to the cast, crew, and fans alike. In And Just Like That, his absence is felt, but his spirit lives on in the story and in every rewatch of those classic Stanford moments. Anthony Marantino, played by Mario Cantoni. Mario was already a Broadway dynamo and comedian before Sex and the City, known for his rapid-fire impressions and fearless stage presence. He brought that same energy to Anthony Marantino, Charlotte's sharp-tongued, hilarious wedding planner who didn't suffer fools. At first, Anthony seemed like a side character for comic relief, but Mario made him impossible to ignore. Off-screen, Cantone has spoken about how grateful he was for the show and how much fun it was to play a character so close to himself but turned up to 11. He's still doing stand-up, Broadway, and often appears on The View, where he's known for his wit and honesty. In the reboot, And Just Like That, Anthony steps into the spotlight more, not just as Stanford's husband, but as a man dealing with loss, aging, and running a business, and still making us laugh with the perfect sarcastic jab. Beyond the main cast, Sex and the City became famous for its revolving door of memorable male guest stars, the charming, awkward, hilarious, and sometimes infuriating men who briefly entered the lives of Carrie, Charlotte, Miranda, and Samantha. Some were fleeting romances, others became iconic moments of heartbreak or comedy, and a few were unforgettable cameos that captured the energy of late 90s and early 2000 New York. Whether they were up-and-coming actors at the time or established names making a playful appearance, these men helped build the show's world one awkward date, perfect flirtation, or life lesson at a time. Carrie's love interests and Flings, Seth played by Jon Bon Jovi. Before his cameo on Sex and the City, Jon Bon Jovi was already a global rock icon, frontman of Bon Jovi, with hits like Livin' on a Prayer and Wanted Dead or Alive. He was at the height of rock stardom, known for sold-out stadium tours and his boyish charm. On the show, he surprised everyone by playing Seth, a man Carrie meets in therapy, only to discover that he habitually dates women, loses interest after sleeping with them, and moves on a harsh mirror for Carrie's own dating woes. Today, Bon Jovi continues to tour, has released several albums, and is deeply involved in philanthropy. particularly through his JBJ Soul Foundation, which focuses on issues like homelessness and poverty. He remains one of the rare rock stars who has kept his marriage and family intact while staying relevant across decades. Jared and Vaughn Weisel, played by Justin Theroux. Before Sex and the City, Justin was a working actor, building a solid resume, with roles in indie films and TV guest spots. His first appearance on the show was as Jared, a cocky, up-and-coming writer who flirts with Carrie in Season 1. He returned in Season 2 as Vaughn Weisel, a sweet but insecure writer with premature performance issues that made for one of the show's more relatable dating misadventures. Off-screen, Justin's charm and intelligence eventually landed him major roles in Mulholland Drive and The Leftovers, and he became part of one of Hollywood's most watched relationships when he married Jennifer Aniston. They later divorced amicably. Today, he's still acting, producing, and writing, often described by peers as one of the smartest, most down-to-earth people in the business. John McFadden, played by Dean Winters. Before his guest appearance on Sex and the City, Dean Winters was carving out a career with edgy roles on shows like Oz and Homicide: Life on the Street, known for his rough-around-the-edges charm. On Sex and the City, he played John McFadden, Carrie's reliable, time-to-time lover, the guy she called for no-strings-attached sex, but secretly hoped could become something more. Carrie's attempt to turn casual into committed fell flat, showing the quiet heartbreak of wanting more from someone who's not capable of giving it. Off-screen, Dean Winters became a familiar face as Mayhem in the long-running Allstate commercials and landed recurring roles in Rescue Me, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and Law & Order, SVU. His personal resilience is legendary. He survived a life-threatening bacterial infection in 2009 and multiple surgeries, continuing to work with grit and humor that audiences love. Jake, who was played by Bradley Cooper. Before becoming one of Hollywood's most bankable stars, Bradley was relatively unknown, with early roles on Alias. His small but memorable Sex and the City role as Jake the handsome guy who picks up a mortified Carrie at a bar after her disastrous magazine cover showed his potential for charm and comedic timing. This appearance was a stepping stone towards stardom. Bradley went on to earn critical and commercial success with films like Silver Linings Playbook, American Sniper, and A Star is Born, which he also directed. Today, he's an Academy Award-nominated actor and director, a dedicated father, and someone who has publicly spoken about sobriety and mental health, adding layers of authenticity to his glamorous public persona. Jack Berger, played by Ron Livingston. Ron was already known for his role in the cult comedy Office Space before becoming the man that every woman watching Sex and the City wanted to strangle. Jack Berger. He was charming, funny, and felt like Carrie's intellectual equal, until he famously broke up with her via Post-it note, delivering one of the most iconic and cringe-worthy moments in TV history. Off-screen, Livingston has stayed busy with character roles in Band of Brothers, The Conjuring, and Loudermilk. He married actress Rosemarie DeWitt, and they live a relatively quiet life focused on family. Today, he remains beloved for his everyman roles, bringing warmth and subtle humor to everything he does. Keith Travers, played by Vince Vaughn. Before his guest role, Vince was part of the breakout success of Swingers, and quickly became known for his fast-talking, witty charm. On Sex and the City, he played Keith Travers, a Hollywood agent who pretends to be a big shot, but turns out to be living off the name of his boss. Vaughn brought exactly the right mix of confidence and self-delusion. After Sex and the City, his career skyrocketed with comedies like Old School, Wedding Crashers, and more serious work in True Detective. Today, he's both a leading man and producer, balancing comedic and dramatic roles, and remains known for his sharp wit and loyalty to longtime friends and collaborators. Jeremy, who was played by David Duchovny. Before Sex and the City, David was already a household name from his iconic role as Fox Mulder on The X-Files. He appeared in Sex and the City final season as Jeremy, Carrie's handsome, successful high school sweetheart, who she discovers is now a patient in a mental institution. David brought quiet vulnerability to the role, reminding viewers that even those who seem perfect on the surface can carry deep struggles. After the show, He starred in Californication, a role that leaned into his dry humor and self-awareness. Off-screen, David is also a published author and musician, still working consistently in TV and film while cultivating a private, creative life. Bill Kelly, played by John Slattery. Before appearing on Sex and the City, John was already a well-known and respected character actor with memorable roles in Will and Grace. He was admired for his silver-haired charisma and polished presence. On Sex and the City, he played Bill Kelly, a suave, successful politician running for New York City comptroller with his eye on the mayor's office. Things between Bill and Carrie started strong, but took an awkward turn when he confessed a private kink she wasn't comfortable with. The relationship ended not because of that kink, but because Bill himself told Carrie that his campaign team felt her column didn't fit the image they wanted for his political aspirations. In other words, she wasn't mayoral material. The snub left Carrie hurt, and she eventually wrote about it in her column. After Sex and the City, Slattery's career exploded with his Emmy-nominated role as the iconic Roger Sterling in Mad Men, where he became beloved for his wit and complexity. Today, he's still working in both film and television, including appearances in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Howard Stark, and remains one of Hollywood's most respected and quietly cool actors. Samantha's love interests and Flings. Richard Wright, played by James Remar. Before Sex and the City, James had been in everything from The Warriors to 48 Hours, always playing edgy, commanding men. As Richard Wright, he embodied a wealthy hotel magnate who finally made Samantha believe she could love someone, only to break her heart with his infidelity. Richard was Samantha's toughest lesson in vulnerability. Off-screen, Remar has worked steadily for decades, with major roles on Dexter, Black Lightning, and The Rookie. He's respected for his craft and continues to play complex men with depth and quiet intensity. Smith Jerrod, played by Jason Lewis. Jason was a model-turned-actor before landing the role of Smith Jerrod, Samantha's biggest surprise. At first, just a beautiful younger man, Smith evolved into Samantha's most devoted partner, standing by her side through her cancer diagnosis and showing audiences that even the most independent woman could be supported by genuine love. Off-screen, Lewis has stayed active in television and film, including roles in Midnight Texas, and he's spoken openly about the impact playing Smith had on both his career and his understanding of loyalty and strength. The priest, played by Costas Mandylor. Before appearing on Sex and the City, Costas Mandylor had already made a name for himself with standout roles in Picket Fences and numerous action and drama projects, known for his brooding good looks and strong screen presence. In Season 4, he played the priest who becomes the object of Samantha's intense desire. She spots him during a church mass and, true to her fearless confidence, attempts to seduce him, even confessing her sins with her signature sultry flair. But the priest, steadfast in his vows, gently rebuffs her advances, giving viewers one of the series' most memorable moments of Samantha being denied something she usually gets with ease. After the show, Costas Mandylor became internationally known for his role as Detective Hoffman in the Saw film series, and has continued to work consistently in film and television, maintaining a reputation as both a magnetic screen presence and a genuinely gracious presence off-camera. Miranda's love interests and Flings. Doug, who was played by Jim Gaffigan. Before appearing on Sex and the City, Jim was an up-and-coming stand-up comic with a distinct, self-deprecating humor and Midwestern charm. On the show, he played Doug, a seemingly nice guy whose unsanitary bathroom habits, leaving the door open during business, became an instant deal-breaker for Miranda. Jim's performance perfectly captured the awkwardness of early dating and hidden quirks. Today, Jim is one of the most successful stand-up comedians in the world, with numerous Netflix specials, best-selling books, and acting roles. He remains beloved for his clean, family-oriented comedy and genuine humility. Dr. Robert Leeds, played by Blair Underwood. Before appearing on Sex and the City, Blair was already a television star, best known for his breakthrough role as attorney Jonathan Rollins on LA Law, admired for his suave presence and natural intelligence. In Sex and the City, he played Dr. Robert Leeds, the team doctor for the New York Knicks, who moves into Miranda's building and becomes one of her most serious relationships outside of Steve. Robert was kind, successful, confident, and deeply supportive, the kind of man Miranda wasn't used to letting into her heart. Their relationship was warm and healthy, but ultimately fell apart because Miranda couldn't fully commit emotionally, still tethered to her feelings for Steve. Off-screen, Blair has continued to enjoy a long and respected career with standout roles in Treatment, Quantico, When They See Us, and most recently Origin. Beyond acting, he's known for his philanthropy, advocacy work, and the grace and humility he brings to both his career and his personal life. Charlotte's love interests and flings. Stephen, played by Dan Futterman. Before appearing on Sex and the City, Dan was already earning recognition for his thoughtful, nuanced performances in projects like Will and Grace, and he was quickly becoming known as both an actor and a gifted writer. In the show, he played Stephen, a sexy, talented pastry chef Charlotte dates. But as they spend time together, Charlotte finds herself puzzled by Stephen's metrosexual style, and certain behaviors leave her questioning whether he's straight or gay. The uncertainty becomes the very reason their relationship fizzles out, serving as a playful but pointed reminder of Charlotte's tendency to search for perfection and clear definitions in an often messy dating world. After the show, Dan became a major force behind the camera, earning an Oscar nomination for writing Capote and producing acclaimed series like The Looming Tower and American Rust. Today, he's celebrated as a brilliant storyteller and creative force in both film and television. And that's the magic of Sex and the City. The men came and went, but each one left behind a little lesson, a little laughter, and sometimes a whole lot of chaos. Whether they were heartthrobs, heartbreakers, or just plain bizarre, they made the journey unforgettable. Now, these aren't even half the men who appeared on the show, just the ones I personally enjoyed watching the most. Which ones on this list were your favorites? And who made you cringe the hardest? Drop a comment and let me know. And for all the men I didn't include, there are so many, I just might have to create a part 2 of this list. If you had fun walking down memory lane with me, give this video a like, leave a comment, and hit subscribe so we can keep obsessing over love, New York, and all the messy, hilarious moments in between.